Good evening, everyone. I am Victoria Nicole. I am the founder of the Confessions of a Lady, and I am the host of the Confessional Room. Here in the Confessional Room, we play off the Confessions of a Lady, where we speak out against domestic violence and abuse, concentrating in those women ages 7 and up who have been a product of molestation and rape. Yeah. So this evening, we have guest Melissa Moorehead, who is actually a co-author in my last released book of If These Walls Could Talk. In that book, she actually spoke on how she was in a domestic violence relationship and had to flee her home in order to restart her life with her 2 children. And okay, so we're going to wait for her to come in. And let's see. She said that she was joining in. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. So we're waiting on her. And I am so thankful for everyone who will catch this live as well as catching the replay. So let's just wait and see. Hey, Eric, how you doing? Waiting on Melissa. And if you all would please share this video out for us. Share and comment, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Anything basically goes in the confessional room, so we want it to be as transparent as possible in order to help someone else out who is currently gone through, or may think they may be entering into a domestic violence situation, or for women who have children, girls and boys, but especially for our girls who have been a product of molestation, ways they can actually talk to them and seek help. So Melissa is joined. Let's see. Add. I'm sorry, keeps dropping. I got you, Melissa. It said I had to actually allow for you to join. Is it allowing for you to join now, Melissa? I said let you join. It may take a second. Hey, Melissa! Can you hear me?
How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm sorry that I'm actually late.
That's okay.
And I know that you have to get up early, but I thank you so much for joining and just taking the time out. Hey, Taria, for even coming on and sharing. I know you and I have spoke earlier today about your nerves and you just being on here, but I'm so grateful that you did say yes. I'm going to tell you guys, now that I have Melissa on here, some more back history of Melissa and I. Melissa and I met about 2 years ago in 2017. I got the opportunity to speak to a collective group of phenomenal women in Indiana, and Melissa was there. And she was not supposed to be in my breakout session, and she just said the guy just truly told her stay in here, and she thought she was gonna get kicked out, and no one would have ever known. Melissa is so sweet and kind-hearted. Even if the ladies would have known that she was supposed to be there, I'm sure that they would not have told her to get out. But nevertheless, she stayed in, and we have grown such a great friendship
We have.
since then. And I'm truly honored because in my position of, being an advocate for domestic violence and abuse, molestation, and rape, and that whole plethora, I never thought that God would send me or allow for me to be impactful to women who are older than me. Now, how much older ain't nobody business, but just older than me. And so I take it so, y'all know I'm a crybaby. I take it with honor that Melissa has even allowed for me to help her push out her baby in the chapter of If These Walls Could Talk. And just for her to even listen to me, you know what I'm saying? It's sometimes we don't get the opportunity to truly show who we really are because we allow for age. For me, it's allowing for my age to kind of put me in a position where people are not going to listen because I'm afraid of what they may say. But I'm so truly grateful and honored that Melissa is not one of those people, that she has actually truly heard my story, and she has allowed for herself to be intertwined with little old me.
Yeah.
And so I am truly grateful for that. So before we dive on in, Melissa, just tell us how you got to a place that you're even able to speak in the confessional room.
Wow. Of course, you really said a mouthful right there. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I am just so honored to be a part of this and still to be a part of this movement for not only women, but for men just as well, to be that voice, to let people know that you too can survive. Um, just a little bit about myself: born and raised in Evansville, Indiana, went to the military, a veteran of the United States Navy, and that is when my journey started. Um, was very scared to let people know what I had went through. Because of one thing, and I know you and I have talked about this, we know it can be a learned behavior. And if you have never been around that type of behavior, you never know um, what to expect, how to feel, and even what to do. I was always that woman stating, well, if that ever happened to me, I don't know if I could stay. That would never be me. And I became that woman. And I'm probably stating my age right now. I remember watching a show on Ricky Lake at that time, and she had a survivor of domestic violence on there. And I remember repeatedly stating, how can she stay? And little did I know, probably 6 to 7 months later, I was going to be in that same situation. And so I'm at a point in my life, Victoria, where I know God is calling me to be that voice, to open up and just let them know that you too can survive. In spite of what it looks like, you too can survive.
And so that's so great. I will tell the same exact thing, and I will concur. I have been known to be a pistol in my life. You say something to me, I'm gonna say something back. You think you'll put your hands
Yeah,
on me, baby? Bye. You know that has always been my mentality. And so when you say, oh, that would never be me. I remember reciting those words, and I would see, classmates and girlfriends, just go through a situation. I'm like, well, how could you ever be in a relationship where anybody put their hands on you or talk down to you? And you never know. I now say you never know what you'll do until you're in that situation. So, will you
that is
just
so
speak to the
true.
people and give as many details as possible as it pertains to your situation, so that other women will know just kind of how you entered into a relationship with this guy and how long did it last?
Entered into the relationship. Of course, he and I were both in military. We were stationed together. I met him, I was 20, 21 years old. He was around the same age. And of course, we appear to have fallen in love with one another. And especially, we had children. And I will say this: I am not a counselor, nor am I a therapist, but we married because of children. And the one thing that I tell people, again, I'm not a marriage counselor or a therapist, that was the wrong mistake for us to do. It really was. And I talk about that in my chapter in the book, that we married because of responsibilities, we married because of bills, and we married because we thought it was the right thing to do. And we did more harm than good. So it started in the book, if I may, Victoria, I talk about that my domestic violence started with one question, and it was me asking him if he could help me put the groceries up. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It first started with a smack, and then you're like, oh my gosh, did he just do what I think he did? And it happens. Then the next day, after that, it's gifts and it's pampering and it's the love and it's the aftermath of that, trying to make you feel better. So it goes gradually from a smack to cursing to talking, then to a hit, then blown out fights. I was pregnant at the time with my youngest child. So a lot of this in my journey started, and it happened while I was pregnant with my youngest son. I tried getting help. Unfortunately, that was not a success. And I stayed. I stayed. again, because I had children, because we had bills, and because I didn't know what else to do. And the crazy thing about it, my family never knew. I hid it, and I hid it well. So, you can go to work with that smile on your face and maybe glasses on, or trying to hide a bruise or hide a cut, and you're still playing the part. So I'm playing the part of a non-victim, of being a wife, being happily married, quote unquote, and being young and not knowing what I was doing was causing more harm than good, especially not only to myself, but to my children as well.
So if I can recap, for the people who are just joining in, we want to say thank you so much. This is Miss Melissa from Indiana, and she's just sharing her story of how she entered into a domestic violence relationship at the age of 21, 22 years old. Ended up getting married to this guy because of responsibility of her children. And again, we want to put that notion out there that we're not counselors. We're merely sharing our testimonies of how we enter into these relationships or into these situations and how we were able to overcome. So this is just to encourage you guys, to let you all know that you are not alone in these situations and that there is help out there. So
Yeah.
we've talked about how you got involved with this gentleman, and we talked about
Mhm.
why you stayed. So explain to us how you gathered the strength, I guess you could say, and was able to leave, or what was your exit throughout the situation, throughout the relationship? When was enough,
I,
basically?
when I was 6 months pregnant, I was
With your
six
first
months
and second?
pregnant. This was my third child.
Okay.
I was 6 months pregnant with my third son, and we had a very, very bad argument, which led into a very, very bad physical altercation. Now, mind you, I have this big belly, and I'm 6 months pregnant. And I remember the last blow he gave to me, and I clearly looked him in his face, and I told him that somebody's leaving with a tag on their toe tonight, but it's not going to be me. And I knew I had had enough. The neighbors heard this huge altercation, and mind you, the kids are there, and they're looking and screaming, "Leave my mommy alone, leave my mommy alone." He's in a rage, I'm in a rage. The neighbors come in, things finally get settled. You have the cops coming, all of that that goes along with it. He was ordered to leave the home. I, in turn, went the very next day to file a restraining order to get my children and myself out of the situation. And unfortunately, it did not go as planned. The one thing, the case manager that was assigned to my case in that state, and I clearly remember him telling me, "You do realize that you are pregnant, and if you go ahead with this, you will not get child support." And I'm looking at him. Child support right now is the least of my worries. I need to get out. I need to have a safe plan. I need help. So we, at that time, we had a very nice townhome, nice neighborhood, raised my kids up in a very nice area. So it was either do or die at this situation. So I had to leave with what I had, and that was very little. And mind you, at this time, again, I'm still in the military, so I'm serving my country and going through this at the same time. I've moved my children to a very high written crime area. I talk about in the book that the rodents and the roaches were our best friends in this apartment. It was a drug infested area. The crime rate was high, but we were finally safe. And you would think to yourself, how can you be safe in an area like that? But they had mom. I was their protector. God entrusted me to be their mother. He entrusted me to protect these children. And I had no choice but to leave. At that time, I was being transferred to Seattle, Washington. And the one thing that he did not realize, Victoria, I had to keep my children there. He thought that my children was going to go with me and transfer with me, but they could not come until maybe 4 or 5 months after that. So I had to come up with a game plan. And my kids, I secretly kept my kids in Virginia. They were about 20 minutes away from him. And so you talking about somebody being on pins and needles and praying every single day that my children are okay, because he had threatened to take the kids. And so that was another story, of course, within itself. But I had to keep my kids safe. I'm a mother. It's embedded in us to protect our children for whatever cost. And if that meant me getting in trouble, then so be it. as long as we all were okay. And so about 4 months, they stayed with my godparents and they came with me to Seattle, Washington. And that was beginning of a new journey for us. But I do remember basically keeping my kids in hiding from him. And that's when I knew that we had to be safe. I had to survive for them. I had to, I owed that much to them because if they can see their mother getting beat up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and going through these matters for months on end. And I'm not saying anything to anybody about it, but I'm also trying to be proactive and get help. This is the least that I could do is I owe this much to my children to keep them safe and to protect them from all hurt, harm, and danger.
And I tear up because people don't when you're in these situations, people don't really understand the shame and guilt that you feel, especially as
Mm-hmm.
women. We are known to be like this shero type of person, and so
Yes,
we try to keep house, spouse, children, work all balanced in the air. And sometimes, even if we show an inkling in our mind, if we show an inkling of weakness, it's like the whole world is going to come crumbling down. And
that is so
especially
true.
if we have unfortunately painted this picture that our relationships are healthy, and then it's a failure situation, we get in this whole
Yes,
guilt. And we get so comfortable and content with our situation. It's like, well, this is my child's father. I don't want to start over. I want my children
yes,
raised in a two-person household. But what do your children really gain by seeing you become black and blue every day? What do your children
exactly.
really gain if they see their mother depressed? What do your children really gain if you're not in a healthy relationship? So what you're really doing is allowing for them to think that it's okay to be
That is
hurt
so
every day.
true.
And
Yes.
I've talked to a male friend of mine, and he was like, well, I stayed married to her because of my child. But it's like, if your
Hmm.
child don't see healthy relationships, what do they have to replicate, or what do they have to
Yes,
show them what is right from wrong? And I commend you because you said that, you had to do this for your children. I think that some people, unfortunately, like you said, stay in relationships for so long being abused because they just don't want to start over. And unfortunately, starting over may be the right thing to do, not only for
hmm,
yourself, but for your children and anybody who you come in
yes,
contact with. Because what people don't really realize and understand is everything that happens in your home does not stay in your home. Your
that is
behaviors,
so true.
they will spill over into work, into friendships, into everything else. Because when you don't have control in one area, you tend to overcompensate in other areas. And so you may not
Yes.
realize it in the midst in that moment, but eventually when you look back on, you like, oh, okay, so I was really
Mhm.
mean and rude to all these people because
Yes.
I didn't have control in this area. So you talked about how you met this man and how you were able to, move away. At what point, because in order to truly heal, you have to give that person forgiveness. Have you
Mhm.
given him forgiveness for yourself?
I have. And unfortunately, he passed away about 15 years ago. So I can say that prior to him passing away, we had finally gotten to the point where we were able to co-parent together. We had finally got over the point of arguing and cursing each other out because you have kids. Kids are involved. And people don't realize that. And the crazy thing about it, we weren't arguing about the kids, it was about us. But the kids just so happened to be in the middle of our mess. So we had to really come to a point like, hey, enough is enough. You need to be their father. I'm their mother. I'm not keeping them from you, but I'm not going to put up with no more mess either. That
Okay.
I'm not. So when my voice started to change, not the fluctuation of my voice, but when I started taking a stance and knowing who I was. And so I've started that journey. I started that journey then of knowing who I was, that A, I have a voice, and B, it's not okay anymore. You can keep doing what you want, but guess what? It's not okay anymore. So prior to him passing away, we finally had a grown up conversation. I tell people all the time, just because you're over the age of 21, you're not grown. I really was not grown, maybe physically, tax wise, I was. I was at an age where I could vote and I was at an age where I could go to the bars and go clubbing and drink and do whatever. But to really say that I was a grown woman, I was not grown I took a stance for myself. So going back, we were able to finally communicate, and unfortunately, he passed away unexpectedly. But during that time, I was able to forgive him, and I was able, first of all, to forgive myself. And we have to realize, Victoria, that forgiveness is more so for us than it is for the other person. And so I'm at a point in my life now where I've forgiven, and I'm starting to open up and talk about these things because I am getting too old to keep harboring these feelings, because there's so much inside of me. And I've realized in this journey that what I went through is not only for me, but it's for that next person that's coming along, that I can let her know, hey, don't worry. You know what? I went through that. By the time I was 23, I had 3 children, all of under the age of 3. I always tell people I had 2 car seats in one, well, 2 toddler seats in one baby car seat. That is so not attractive at all. But but I made it, and I'm proud to say I'm 47 years old and I made it. My kids are grown and gone, and I'm a nana, and I made it. And I am a voice now for my granddaughter, who is 3 years old. I do not want her to go through what I went through. Um, we have to realize, and we have to start pouring not only into our children, but definitely our young girls. And I know I'm going back and forth, Victoria, but
It's
it's a
okay.
passion of mine. We have to let them know, we know that love is patient, love is kind, but love also, it's an action verb, but it does not mean it's hitting. And we have to learn and let these young ladies know that you have to love yourselves first before anybody else can love you. And I'm a big testament to that. If you do not love yourself first, no one else can love you more than you. And definitely no one else can love you more than God. And so we have to truly keep that in our forefront, and our mind is loving ourselves first. Get to know yourself. And I'm at that age now, Victoria, where I am knowing who Melissa is. And I'm okay. And I'm just thankful, that God never gave up on me in the midst of all of this. And it's okay that I know who she is. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. So knowing who I am to be a better person, and not necessarily in a relationship, but just to be a better person in every area of my life.
And that is so important. I like the fact that you said forgiveness is not for the other person but for yourself. And I'm a
Amen.
true believer in that. Because like you said, the person who, caused abuse to you, he no longer lives. So you have to get to a place where you forgiving yourself for being in that
Yes.
situation and going through that and understanding that, it has to happen or it happened.
Mhm.
I love the 3 A's: acknowledge, accept, and affirm. Acknowledge your past, accept that you can't change it, and affirm yourself that you are deserving of a better and brighter future. So with that, if that person dies tomorrow and they never tell you sorry, you have to be okay with that. You have to get to a place
Yes.
where, okay, I'm fine with that. It's
Mhm.
happened. They'll never apologize. I've never gotten an apology for any of the things that I've encountered. And
Wow.
after much therapy, after much
Mhm.
just self-reflection, I can't change it. All my
Yes.
past is it's just that it's my past. It happened.
Mhm.
We can't go back. We can't rewrite it. And who knows, and I'm not saying this to sway either left or to the right, but who knows, had I not endured this, would I be able to be as strong of a person that I am today? And
Yes.
so
And that is so true.
you truly have to just get to a place where you're like, okay, okay, what
Yes.
next? I
Mhm.
mean, I've gone through so much more. I'm sure whatever, comes at me next, I can endure that as well. So,
Yes.
I know that it's kind of late. So, what would you leave the people with on today? Someone who is, let's just say she's a child underneath the age of,
Yes.
let's say, 11, and she is going through, because we know that our children enter into quote unquote relationship based ships, situationships. They enter into
Yes.
all these
Yes.
ships
All these
before
ships.
they jump into all these ships and all these
Yeah.
waves of drama that comes with it at such an early age. So if I'm 11 years old and I catch this, and for some reason you got a Facebook page or a YouTube page, and I catch this video, what do you say to me?
Wow.
I'm 11.
You're 11.
I'm 11.
And that, first of all, that would be my number one question. At 11 years old, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're not getting at home that you have to be out looking for some type of base ship, relationship, situationship, all like you stated, all these new ships that have been invented. What are you looking for at that age? Love yourself, get an education. Relationships, they come and they go. And you are going to have so much time for that. There's going to be time for that. But now you are at an age, especially at 11 years old, Victoria.
But I know what I want, Melissa. I
You
love
think you
him.
know what you want.
I love him.
Wow. You think you know what you want. And I thought I knew what I wanted at 19 years old, but I didn't. And what I thought I wanted, I got something that I wasn't ready for. And I endured it until I couldn't endure anymore. But one would be loving yourself. Outside of the question is, what are you looking for at the age of 11 that your parents can't give you? Leading and guiding them maybe to your local organization, YMCA or the YWCA. Finding an outlet for them other than whether it be YouTube or some type of social media network on the internet. And Victoria, now you could have made that child like 18 years old,
But
but it happens. It
I'm getting
happens.
there. So now
Yes,
I'm 21 and I got two kids. What do you
yes,
say to me?
you can make it. You can make it. Having children at a very young age, and especially if you are not married, is not a death sentence. It's the beginning of your life. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. But you know what, Victoria? It's worth it. It really is. It's at a time where you have to set your priorities. You have to have a game plan. And that's the one thing I think that a lot of us that we do not talk about is a game plan. You have to have a safe plan and a game plan. Um, come come up with a safe plan and come up with a game plan. If you want to go back to school and get your associate's degree, your some type of certification or any type of other higher education, go ahead and do it. Do not let having children or being a single parent of multiple children stop you. If anything, that should empower you more to go, because that's what it did for myself. Nobody knows how it feels to receive your bachelor's and your children are watching you. And my kids are grown and they're in college, at that time. And I was so proud. I was so proud. Not only did I do it for myself, but I truly did it for them, to let them know that this is the type of mother that you have through everything that we've went through, lack thereof, whether it be of transportation, food, clothing, definitely monetary. I made it and you can make it too. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. Are you going to have sleepless nights? Absolutely. But Victoria, anyone watching and listening right now, and definitely to the replay, it has been all worth it. It really has. Anything worth fighting for, I know they say is worth keeping, but anything worth fighting for is worth having. And you just have to put your mind to it and you encourage yourself. I always tell myself Rome was not built in a day. You take today for what it is. Today is Monday. You take today for what it is. Today is Monday. And you worry about tomorrow when that time comes.
That's good, Miss Melissa. So let's just see if we have any questions to say. So Adeline says, "Hey, Melissa Moorehead, love you, love y'all.
Oh, love
Don't
you
have me."
too,
Miss
Adam.
McGuire, she says hi. Diane Grimes says, "God has your back," and Natalie Spicer says, "Proud of you, friend." Melissa Moorehead, you're such a blessing. That's Adeline Miss Chin again. And then Lynn McDonald says, "Hello, Melissa Moore." And Adeline
My
said,
sister.
"Oh, been there through the exact same thing. I have it to God and covered me through it all." Oh. And then Whitney says hello. And then Miss Donna, she is an old supervisor of mine. She's very sweet. She says, "Victoria, I dealt with domestic violence. I was raped. I follow you because you make it real. I have never spoken in my circumstance. Keep up the good work. Don't stop." And so that is the purpose of the confessional room is just that, Miss Donna, is so that we can talk about these situations, and unfortunately, and make it a part of everyday conversation. Everyone knows that domestic violence happens every 9 seconds. Every situation, domestic violence, if I'm not mistaken, 60% of those end in a homicide, suicide. So that means that the person kills you and then kills themselves. I'm not
Kills
saying
himself.
that it should be vice versa. But I am saying that we need to talk about it more so that it's not something that we're ashamed about. Molestation, domestic violence, and rape are those taboo subjects. If these walls could talk, I'm sure in everyone's home we have those stories that nobody wants to talk
Yes.
about. We have those generational curses of that uncle or that cousin who we tell everybody to stay away from. But we can't just shy away from Uncle David, Uncle Tom, Uncle Larry, Uncle Beth, Nisi,
Yes.
whoever. We can't continue to
Hmm.
shy away from these people because unfortunately what you are subconsciously saying is their behavior is acceptable and it isn't.
That is, yes,
So
and that is so
when
true.
you do not um direct a situation head on, or you do not handle situation head on, you are basically telling that person your behavior is acceptable, so what we're going to do, we're going to conform to what you're doing because we don't want to out you because you're quote unquote family,
Yes.
or we don't want to out you because we don't make you another stereotypical person. But unfortunately their behavior is wrong. It's not unfortunately,
Yes.
it is. I mean, I don't know
That's
how
true.
much more I can say this or how I can say this. It happens too much. It happens
It
way too
does.
much for
It
us
does.
not to talk about it, for us to walk around on eggshells around certain people, for us no longer to have a voice. We have to speak up and we have to talk about it because
Yes.
unfortunately, I know for you, Miss Melissa, the way your parents groomed you and raised you is not the same way that my mother groomed and raised me. It's not the same way that you could have groomed and raised your children. It's definitely not the same way that I can raise Lady, for the simple fact that it's not just a little village that we put them around to
Yes.
raise. It's
That is
social media,
true.
it's their friends, it's school. They spend more
Yeah.
time during the school year with their friends, and you don't know who they're
Than
going
they
to
do with their
encounter because
families.
right, because you don't know who they're going to encounter or what their parents, auntie, grandparents are instilling in them. So we have to have these uncomfortable conversations so
Yes.
that they will know and they so that they will know that one, what is right and what is wrong, and two, so
Yes.
they will not be afraid to come to you or to whoever you put in place as a safeguard, so they can talk to. I'm
Yes.
fortunate to have a great best friend for Lady to
Hmm.
go and talk to when she can't come talk to me. Certain
Yes.
things, I'm mom, so I'm never gonna be
Hmm.
that cool. But I'm grateful that I have surrounded her with people who she can entrust
Hmm.
with those
Yes.
conversations if she can't come to me. Not saying I don't want her to, but she has that other person or those other people. And so
Yes. Yes.
the purpose of the confessional room, I'll say it day in and day out, and the purpose of the ladies of the confession is so these unorthodox or these unconventional conversation or these taboo conversation, whatever you want to call it, can
Hmm.
be an everyday topic. Because if it happens every
And
9 seconds,
yes. And you know what, Victoria, if I may, not cutting you off,
mm,
especially with the atmosphere and the climate that's in the world now. I know we could probably have another confessional room with what's going on right now with R. Kelly. You have that situation. You have other situations. You've seen leaders, in roles that we've seen and even heard of that have talked about whether it be some type of sexual abuse or domestic violence against someone. But the one word I heard you say, Victoria, is a safeguard. You have to have a safe plan. I tell young mothers, you know what? Have a code word, have a safe word, have something that if you're not able to get to the phone to call 911, have some type of safety word that that your child can remember, or even that you can remember, because we know a lot of times when we are in situations, your mind is racing and you can't remember a lot of things that you want to talk about or say. But I do believe that if you have some type of simple common word, that word can truly save you. It
that
can,
is,
and it can make a difference.
I remember, and that's I'm glad that you said that, Miss Melissa, because I remember it was, what was I watching? I want to say it was SVU or Criminal Minds or one of those, and her niece, she was a an officer, a detective, and she was taking care of her niece, and she had got abducted. And of course, they had
Hmm.
all, with her being a detective, she had all these things set up so that what she would do in the case of. And the niece wasn't able to call her, but she did send her a safe word. And so it was at
Yes.
that moment that she knew that something was wrong. And they're like, well, how
Yes,
did you know? She was
ma'am.
like, because I told her if she ever texted me this or called me and only said this, then I would know that she was in trouble. And I think that is
Yes.
very important, because sometimes you'll get in a situation where, again, it may be a family member or
Hmm.
a friend of the family, and you're like, well, why don't you want to go over there? And it could just be that one word or that one phrase that oh,
Yes, that is so
so,
true.
yeah, so this is what's going on.
That is
And
so true.
as parents, and I know if Lady ever came and said anything to me, like someone did something to her, I know my first reaction is go, okay, so you don't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
ready to go to jail. But you have to be more, precautious of who you surround them by. I said, you
That
always
is so
listen to your
true.
spirit of discernment. Always listen to that gut intuition. If you don't feel comfortable going around them, definitely don't send your children around them. I
That
love to go and pop
yes.
up at Caitlin's school and see what teacher she's around, and her
Hmm.
school is so familiar with me, and I'm like, well, who is this person? Where did they come
Yes.
from? How long have
Yeah.
they been here? Did you really do a thorough background check? And it may be because of my past, but it's also
Hmm.
because if it's a new face, they're new around my child, so I need to know that I am comfortable with them as well, and I
That is
encourage
so
any
true.
parent to do the same thing.
That is so true. That, I remember when my children were in school, and I always told people that the school, whether it be the administrators, the teachers, the support staff, the cafeteria workers, they knew me before they knew my children. I'm going to make my presence known. You're going to know my name. You're going to recognize my face. You're going to keep seeing me until these children leave this building, whether it's eighth grade, 12th grade, whatever the case may be. I will become a fixture in this building. Because I really do think that when a parent makes a stance and they make their presence known, there's a different response. There really is. And I know some might argue to differ, but I tell you, a parent can make or break an atmosphere, whether if you're involved, um, or not. And the one thing I can also say, Victoria, I know I was talking about my deceased ex-husband, my children's father. The one thing I will say, I love his family. They have always been there for my children and I. When I became a part of this journey with the book, I told his mother and we talked. And, you're really not knowing how somebody's going to respond, because not only am I talking about something that happened in my life, unfortunately, your son is no longer here to give his version. You know what I mean? And so I just want to say that I have truly been blessed in that area of my other family. She still calls me her daughter-in-law. I still call her mom. We still have love for one another. It's just an unfortunate situation. But the one thing I did not know is that the behavior when he and I dated did not start until I took his last name. So none of this happened when we were dating. It all happened when I became married to him. So getting to know who that person is, we truly have got to know who we are dating, their behaviors, their actions, anything. We have to truly, truly get to know that person more than just because they are fine and they are a tall glass of chocolate milk. I mean, you and I have talked about that. I mean, and that's true.
It
So
is.
all I've seen was this handsome, beautiful, bald headed guy, and not knowing the things that he was fighting on the inside. So you have two young, immature people coming together, bringing lives into this world. We did not know our head from our backside. And it's just true. We just didn't, you know. And I can talk about that now because I'm at a point where we did not know anything. We knew chaos, but we didn't know anything. We didn't know how to parent. We didn't know how to pay bills. We didn't know how to be married. We did not know how to get along. And that's not badgering anybody, but we did not know anything. We knew how to have kids, but that was about it. We knew how to get those kids, but that was really about it. So I did not take the time, no indictment on him, God rest his soul. I did not take the time to get to know him. I just saw his outward. Well, if he looks good on the outside, I know
Mm,
on the inside he's okay.
right.
And unfortunately, we had some issues and problems. And then there were repercussions from all of that.
Yeah. So, I want to thank you again so very much, and of course, we'll do this again in a couple of
Well,
months,
Victoria, I
whenever you
appreciate you
want to
so
come back.
much. I
No
do. You know,
problem.
I always say, Lord, I thank you for not letting me get kicked out of that breakout session. Because like I snuck in, I'm like, no, I am staying in here. And I'm so thankful for that. I truly am, not knowing. And literally, Victoria, it was this time last year when we started the writing journey of this. And I have to say, I just seen my daughter get on here and to tell me that she loves me. And Ashley Lynn, I love you just as well. So to see your children, know what you've been through and know what you have survived. That truly means a lot because at the end of the day, I do this for them.
Right.
This has been our journey, and I know there's more stories to tell, but I will let everybody know that you all have a story and you let your story be heard. Do not be afraid to tell your story. I do know there comes a time when the doors have opened for your story to be told, but we have to realize that what we go through is not only is it for us, but it's for the person coming behind us. So, Victoria Nicole, I thank you so much. I do. I know I'm probably the only person that calls you Victoria Nicole, but Victoria Nicole, I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate your realness. I really do. I appreciate your realness and I appreciate you holding my hand through this journey. It has truly been a life changing experience and a life changing, and I will forever be grateful to God and forever be grateful to that day that you and I met. I really and truly am. So, this has truly been awesome just to be a part of this and to be a part of a group of women, to take a stand for not only other women, but people that are coming behind us to let them know that, you know what, it's okay. And we always hear in church, I don't look like what I've been through. We don't look like what we've been through. So, again, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity of being able to share your platform, Victoria. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yes. And my niece is on here. Hannah, I love you. Thank you so much for you know what? First of all, thank you for her mother for allowing her to stay up past bedtime to
Because it is
see
almost
this.
10.
Yes, it's almost 10. Yes. And to my mother as well. To my mother as well. I will say this that my mother did not know a whole lot until she read the book. So when she read the book and the look on her face, that meant a lot to me, but I didn't want to spare them any more harm than what I had went through. So
Absolutely.
I'm very appreciative to my mother, and God rest my father's soul, but I'm very appreciative for my mother and my sister, and their support through this, because a lot of times I went through some things, Victoria, and I didn't let them know. There was times I didn't have enough money to feed my kids, but I didn't let them know. So it takes a village. And I don't care how old you are, it still takes a village. It takes a village for us, and it takes a village for the ones coming behind us. So again, I can't thank you enough.
You always make me cry, Miss Melissa. I'm not crying on the live,
No.
but you understand? What we're not going to do is that. But I am, like I said before, I am truly grateful that you even took the opportunity out to even listen to me, to even want to join that session. And who would have thought
Yes.
these years later that we would
Oh,
be in this place today, that you would have shared such an intimate part that you had buried within you for so long. Um, and so I'm thankful for you even
I'm
saying yes.
grateful.
I'm thankful for you even getting on this live and sharing it with the world. I'm truly thankful, and I hope you hear the sincere part of my heart, when I say that, because a lot of people want to, but not everybody is able to gather that strength yet to tell their story to the world. And for that, I am forever grateful for you and everything that you still do continuously in my life on today in the background. And so God makes no mistakes. Everything is done
He does
intentionally.
not.
And when he has
Yes.
divine connections put in place for your life, it's just
Oh my
that.
God.
You're stuck with
Yes.
me for life now, Melissa. You're
And
stuck.
you are stuck with me, and I am fine with that. I am fine with that, Miss Victoria Nicole.
Well, I want to say thank you one last time. And everybody who
Thank
catch the
you.
replay, let us know. If you have any questions, Miss Melissa is very open. You can catch her in her inbox out. She's been on the live making comments. So definitely reach out to us. Until next time, guys, we'll
Yes,
be here every Monday going forward until God says stop here at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Sorry for the delay on today, but
that's
I
okay.
truly am
Victoria,
thankful for each and every one of you. Ma'am.
if I may, I'll give my I am on Facebook, and I also have a website, www.victoryismyname.com.
And
So
I will, if you put that in the comments, I'll make sure I'll actually
okay.
put that in the caption so that everybody can visit your website and grab a book from you. Just connect with you if they're in your area. And again, we will be back on Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time with another guest in the confessional room. Again, this is going to be every Monday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Catch us in the confessional room where we give our real life stories and nothing is off limits. Everything is a topic. Until next
Yes.
time, you guys, I'm Victoria Nicole. See you next
Bye.
Monday.
Peace.